bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well. Here we go. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Wednesday, September 5th, 2018. 251 days into the new year, just 114 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south. Far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Tonight, day three of our UFO week right here on Fade to Black. And tonight, it's the return of Barry Littleton. Last night, Stan Friedman. Monday night, Emery Smith. Tonight, Barry Littleton is here. The first time I heard Barry speak and give a presentation, I was floored. And literally, because that was the morning that the fairies took my ring. Yeah, I was listening to Barry when that went down. Yeah, that was a very special day up at ECETI Ranch, and I knew then. I remember Barry stepping off the stage, and I stepped right up and I said, "Man, I've got to get you on the show. What are you doing? What are you doing? You need to come with us." Wow. Cough button. So here he is. He's back with us, and it's been a year. I just can't believe it. And when we were setting up UFO week here on Fade to Black, and I was like, okay, yep, yeah, Emery, Stan. Hey, we've got to have Barry. So Barry is with us tonight, and it's going to be an amazing conversation. If you have never listened to Barry before, just get comfortable tonight. He's an absolute amazing individual. Tomorrow night is another Fader night, but tomorrow night we're going to make it all UFOs all the time, all night long. And I want to hear from you tomorrow night. I want to hear about your encounters, your contact, your experiences, your sightings, your videos. That's tomorrow night on Fade to Black, and I'm really looking forward to it. John Rappaport is out on assignment, and he will be back with us, producer at large, editor at large, John Rappaport, and he will be back with us next Thursday. All right? Now, I'm a big social media guy. Everybody knows that. And you can go and chase us down over at OnStellar, OnStellar.com, Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow us there. Facebook is still chugging along, and of course, YouTube. Everything is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and it's easy to find and follow, like, and subscribe. Okay? There you go. At J Church Radio is where we are on Twitter, and hashtag F2B is the sandbox, so you can do that. And if you have any questions or comments, post them in hashtag F2BQ, Fade to Black Questions. It's all very simple. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. We have got lots to talk about tonight. I'm going to start off with this breaking news. There is a resignation letter floating around the web, allegedly written by Louis Elizondo on the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense letterhead. The letter was downloaded off of Chris Mellon's website. Yes, the TTSA CIA Chris Mellon. And right now, those in his TTSA circle are saying that his site was hacked, and because of this, they have pulled the site down. But the story on the net is that the letter and the other files that were downloaded, and the other files or whatever, PowerPoint presentations and stuff like that, nothing official, but that the other stuff that was downloaded came from a public accessible section of Mellon's website. Okay? So now we've got two different stories here. One that the site was hacked, and one that it wasn't hacked. It was just right there, and I went and downloaded it, and there you go. So we have that. But it doesn't matter. The letter is now public. And I'll say this, okay? The letter, its contents, and how it has been distributed are just too convenient. Grammar issues and all. First, it was written to Mr. Secretary. No name given. Who does that? But anyway, red flag number one. Second, there's no date. Only in the body of the memo is there a date. Red flag number two. Right? Now, you're going to write a resignation letter. You're going to put something on an official government letterhead. At the top of the letter, you are going to have a name and an address, and you're going to have the date. You're going to start with the date, and you're going to work your way down, right? And all of that. And then you can address Mr. Secretary, dear Mr. Secretary. But right now, the letter's written to nobody. But that's red flag number two. Third, there's no CC to anyone or any confirmation that anyone ever was exposed to this letter, including the Mr. Secretary, and that will be red flag number 3. But wait, there's more. Fourth, and the most important, Lewis gives his job title as Director, National Programs Special Management Staff. Red flag number 4, waving at you. Google it. National Program Special Management Staff. Google it. Google that gem. The only references to it are a HuffPost and Heavy.com article written, oddly enough, about Louis Elizondo. Strange, right? Back in October and December 2017. Oops. Right? Must be another conspiracy to cover up all that stuff in Black Ops and the Black Projects world. You know, I get that. But in this letter, no mention of ATIP, by the way. Oh, wait, you know, forget that. Just forget it. Never mind. I'm so done. So done. But let me say this. I think the letter was meant to be leaked. Yep, I do. It was written that way. And right now, I'm going to make a wild guess. Just wild. I'm just going to just wild guess. This was never sent to anyone. Nobody in the government ever read it, and it was written to be part of a leak to support Lewis and the Tusa Stars Academy to raise the value of their little endeavor and sell some more stock to the public. I'm just guessing. I don't have any inside info. This is just my opinion. I'm not stating anything as fact because I know nothing. Why? Well, read it for yourself. It's just about the dumbest resignation letter that I've ever read. He actually states, I'm game face on. He actually states that he believes in UFOs and their threat to the military and the nation. And they, the man, don't. So, he's quitting. Yeah, right. Who does that? It's just too convenient. Way too convenient. I'm not saying that Lewis didn't write it, because he probably did. He just didn't send it to anybody. And I would like to see proof that he did. I would like to see the chain of command on the letter. I would like to see who was copied to. I would like to see the email references. I would like to see if he sent it snail mail, if he did that, registered mail, show that to us, who signed for it, and go. It's go time. Because if the letter was real and everything in there, grammar mistakes and everything else was right, and he really doofused out and sent that to his boss and asked for early retirement, whatever it was, then I want to see proof of it. Because they would have exposed this and released this last year. But they didn't. All right. It may have been written last year. Could have. But it wasn't sent to anybody. There's just no way you wouldn't do it. Right? Right. Now, it's almost a year since TTSA did their thing back in October 2017. We are now sitting on September 5th, 2018. Things have gone quiet, and I've said many times over the last 6 months that they need to bring it. My fingers are crossed when it comes to TTSA. I really want something to happen. So I guess they did. The next step, the next thing needs to be a release, and it needs to be the big one. That's what I have said. Well, I guess this is the best that they can do. Go and read the letter for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Just $2 a month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com. Click on the podcast banner. You can also become a Fadernaut over in our membership section on the site. Check out all of our sponsors, too. Click on their banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. And with that, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton today is 67 years old. Beetlejuice. That's all I got to say. Raquel Welch today is 78. And Bob Newhart, today is 89 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today is, and I do need a moment of silence, Freddie Mercury. 1946 to 1991, died at the age of 45. Pneumonia, complications brought on from AIDS. One of the greatest singers in the history of everything that ever was. Happy birthday today to Freddie Mercury. And we'll light up Twitter right now. What's Freddie's best song? Is it a Queen song? Right? Is it a Queen song? Think about that. Freddie Mercury. Unbelievable. On this day in history, OTD in 1957, one of the greatest novels, On the Road by Jack Kerouac, is published on this day. It chronicles the cross-country wanderings of Sal Paradise and his pal Dean Moriarty and their free-ranging encounters with drugs, free love, and counterculture. The book, which Kerouac wrote in just 3 weeks, became an instant classic. Fate or fact? You ready? Are you ready? Sheer heart attack. Jordan, that's a good call, man. That's a good call. Jordan, you impress me more and more every single day. That's why I wear your shirt on the air. Sheer heart attack. That's a good one. Fat bottom girls. Fate or fact? The reason the taste of artificial banana products don't taste like bananas, and they don't, is because the flavoring is based on a type of banana that was wiped out by a plague back in the 1950s. And that is your Fate or Fact. Tonight, very special guest, day 3 of our UFO week here on Fade to Black. And tonight, it's the return of Barry Littleton. Tomorrow is another Fader night with open lines all night long. It's going to be all UFOs all night long. Tomorrow night on Fader Night, John Rappaport will be out on assignment and joining us again next Thursday. Now, going back to TTSA. Not really. I'm going to let that go for a few minutes. I'm going to let that go. Because back in the mid-'80s, remember that? 30 years ago. Back in the mid-'80s, after I made my trek to Los Angeles from Indianapolis with only a guitar and a suitcase, I started to collect books and videos about everything from UFOs and conspiracy to religion and history. And I had some stuff back in Indy, but I couldn't bring it with me because, quite honestly, my tiny suitcase only had enough room for a few shirts, some pants, a couple pairs of socks, and my PV guitar amp. That's it. And I'm not kidding. I left everything. Crazy. I know, but I was 21 years old, and sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So after I settled in Pasadena, I started all over again, and I began amassing my conspiracy stash. And I moved into a 5-bedroom house on Lake Avenue. And the first night there, I found 2 books up on a shelf in one of the bedrooms, and the house was empty except for these 2 books, which were The Interrupted Journey by John G. Fuller and The Andreessen Affair by Raymond E. Fowler. And although I've told the story many times before, so I'm not going to now, but what is important to note is that this was the beginning of a new period of my life. I had always studied UFOs, conspiracy, and history, but this was a fresh start, and my mind was in the right place to proceed with a serious upload and storage of information. So I read, I watched, I saved everything that I came across, all of it. I did. I collected it. And somewhere, somehow, I got my hands on a couple of bootleg VHS 3-hour videos, remember those, of UFOs, footage from around the world. Literally hundreds and hundreds of clips of videos that I watched over and over again. I remembered every second, each frame, right? And when I would see other documentaries in the future, even to this day, I'll see footage there that I watched back in the 80s. And it was extraordinary. So every few days, I would pull out a book out of my little library, and I would read it again. I studied. That's all I did. Just read and read books over and over. Then the internet happened, and with it was the original great website, UFO Mind. UFO Mind still stands as one of the most important things that have ever been on the net, and I read every word. I clicked on every single link until one day I finished it. All of it. The last link of the last site on the web. I had actually done it. I read the internet, and I got to the end. And at this point, I had studied every personality, every name, every location, every incident, every sighting, every cover-up, every conspiracy, images, and video of it all. I became number 42. Or so I thought. Today, as I write this and speak to you, I have done over 1,000 interviews. Let that sink in for a moment. Over 1,000. 1,000 is a very big number. And the subjects have ranged from the obvious, like UFOs, paranormal, the supernatural, all the way to the dark web and lost history and education and physics and science and space and politics and religion and journalism and big business, entertainment, food, right? The military. And everything in between. Everything, all of it. And here it is, number 42. The one thing that I have found, and it's a big one, is that everything is connected. And let that sink in for a moment as well. If you have listened to Fade to Black and Coast to Coast AM over the years, you know my style. And by now, you probably have a pretty good feeling on what question I'm going to ask next, because you've also, along with me, have started to put things together. And if you think about it, someone could listen to Fade to Black for the first time, for whatever reason, wind up here, and pretty much have a great evening. They don't have to know anything about Göbekli Tepe. They don't. They don't have to know who Bob Lazar is. Right? But you, the audience, know that I'll be able to connect the two. It's easy. I guarantee that you, if you've been listening to this show over the years, that you know exactly how I will connect two subjects or two things or two places together. You get it, right? It's easy. Why? Well, first off, Bob Lazar and Göbekli Tepe are connected. They are. And if you give me an extra minute, I can tie Göbekli Tepe and Lazar to an in-and-out double-double and the JFK assassination. That's right. I could do it. And so can you. 20 years ago, 20 years ago, I thought I had a grip because I had read everything. I finished the internet. And to a point, I did. I had a grip. I really did. Today, wow. Today, I have a full understanding that the world is truly not what it seems. And it used to be fun to think about the mysteries of the world and their possibilities. You know, UFOs and ghosts in Egypt and the stars. Today, it's so much more complex, and we are now understanding so much and how it all fits together. And we do it together. Imagine an education system that actually discussed these things, taught them that we are not only able to be visited by ET, and that it has been going on for thousands of years, and these civilizations that are not of this world, right? But that we are also on a quest to find out about who we are and where we came from. You know, simple things like who really built the pyramid, who makes the decisions about what we know and what we do, and maybe even what happens after we die, and everything in between. All of it. And that's what I've learned. That's what I've learned. And it's taken me a long time. I landed at LAX literally with a guitar and a suitcase with a little guitar amp in it and a couple pairs of socks. And I just took off on my journey. And I learned so much. I've learned so much more in this last 5 years. And on a side note, and if you think about it like this, because with all of the research that I've done and all of the clicks that I've done on links and all the videos that I've watched, and a lot of the references that I make to these things, we relate it right back to the internet. But I have got a collection of videos and a collection of books and things and magazines that go back a long, long ways. And I did all of that studying and uploading of information and downloading of information the old school way, the analog way. I actually read and bought books, collected and traded. But all the way through today, with all of these interviews and the connections and the information that I have collected once again in phase 2 here, I've learned so much more. And I have learned that these mysteries are connected. They all are. And it's easy to do. So that side note is simple. Can you imagine the footnotes in UFO History 101 that will be taught in school one day? Think about that for a second. And I wonder what will be said about To the Stars Academy. I do. Because remember, I still study these things. Maybe I'll even teach the class. So in the big picture, at least I've got that going for me. This is Fade to Black. This is day 3 of our UFO week. And our guest tonight is Barry Littleton. And the first time I heard him speak, I sat there for 2 hours. I listened to every word, and I was blown away. I find him to be one of the most engaging, convincing, and compelling people that I've ever met. And so tonight, on this very important night, day 3 of UFO week here on Fade to Black, I can think of nobody better to sit here with me and have a conversation about ET, contact, and UFOs than Barry Littleton. So you just sit right there, get ready. Barry is in the batter's box. I am your host, Jimmy Church, and this is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. And you can also get to Barry's website, which is barrylittleton. I think it's .net. .com, barrylittleton.com. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe.
Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Times are changing. The circus of politics, healthcare's low standards and high prices, and let's not forget food quality. What to do? Arm yourself with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. In a world of chemical imbalance and poor air and water quality, it's time you make a move. Log on to getthetea.com and stock up on organic non-GMO supplements. Don't forget the tea. Cleansing your body never felt so good. And we have a brand new tea called Takedown Tea, which helps support healthy glucose. All natural body support so you can be at your best, naturally. All you have to do is log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. We're not a fad that comes and goes. We are the real deal. Join us and armor up. Getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Changing America's health one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Day 3 of our UFO week right here on Fade to Black. And tonight, our guest is Barry Littleton. Barry is a graduate in psychology, sociology, and ethnic studies from Wichita State University. For the last 2 decades, Barry has been involved in administration for at-risk youth, including cognitive behavioral modification and managing aggressive behavior. He's also an option stock trader. He has researched and practiced several aspects of the spiritual, metaphysical, and the paranormal. Barry's childhood experiences, including encountering a dis-incarnated people, strange playmates, and awakening not in his bedroom or house. More on that in just a bit. There was no way of proving these odd encounters that he was having, so he asked for them to be more tangible, to be more physical. And at the age of 18, the experiences resulted in 4 separate encounters that totaled about 18 hours of missing time. The combined experiences of missing time, conscious encounters, and past life memories led him to a vast amount of research in an attempt to verify and explain what was going on. He's physically been on several different craft and has seen several different types of beings. His website is barrylittleton.com, and this is going to be a conversation that you're going to want to listen to over and over again. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Barry Littleton. Barry, good evening, man. How are you?
I'm good, Jimmy. How are you doing? Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that.
Oh, man, it's just great to hear your voice. How have you been?
I've been very good. And I appreciate hearing from you again and being back on the platform. It's a real blessing. Things have been going well. I've been much further with this speaking out than I thought I would go, so it's been a blessing.
Well, and how's that going for you, Barry?
You know, it's been really good. About a month ago, I came from a conference that was in Florida by a lady named Florburn, a friend of mine. It was the first melanin-dominant contactee conference. So it went very good as far as just most of the presenters were melanin-dominant. So it was a little different, and it went really good. So I've appreciated meeting people from all across, not just the country, but the world.
Well, you know what? I want to start here tonight, Barry, with you, if that's okay.
Sure.
You're a black man, okay?
Yes, sir.
In the UFO world, and that's you're in rarefied air. Okay, let's just speak very bluntly. But you went from speaking on stage up at ECETI to literally being shot out of a cannon. I brought you on to Fade to Black, and I brought you immediately on to Coast AM. I have to ask you, my friend, did other people of color approach you and say thank you?
You know, I would say yes. There's a much bigger community of melanin-dominant ethnic black people that are contactees than anyone is aware of.
I know.
A lot of times we won't speak out publicly about it.
Right.
But I think that what this has done, since you were one of the first people that ever publicly addressed that, and I really appreciate that. I know you got a little heat for it.
I did. But, you see, this. You know what's funny about that, Barry, is that I speak at conferences. I know who's out. I know what's going on. I'm not stupid. But what I thought was interesting about that is, look, either I avoid asking the questions that need to be asked at this moment, or if I don't, then I'm not being honest with myself. And that goes right back to the audience, right? So I want to know. I want to know. Now, why is it that you chose to come forward? It would have been easier for you to not.
I was one of those people that said I was always going to come forward and tell about my experiences and what happened, but I probably wouldn't have. And then in 2010, I had a near fatal car accident in which I had died twice on the way to the hospital, and I sustained 4 catastrophic traumatic brain injuries. And they said I'd be a vegetable for the rest of my life and devoid of long lifetime memories. But for certain reasons, I'm anything but. And at that point, I decided my mother had told me that she thought I was still the way I was before because I was supposed to do something. And then I wound up getting interviewed by this guy, Peter Maxwell Slattery, who I think you just recently met.
Yep.
And I thought, to be honest with you, Jimmy, I thought nobody was really going to listen to me. And the fact he was in Australia, I thought it would be so much safe. But it kept going from there. I started getting asked to speak out more and more. And then I went ahead and got some illustrations for my experiences actually done so I can describe them better. And it just went from there, which has been really, it's been an interesting ride.
Well, and now we have Billy Carson, who is an absolute amazing researcher, but he's been a guest on the show many times. We just had him up at ECETI. Coast to Coast. He just did Beyond Belief, too, as well, and he's doing his work over at Gaia, and he has Forbidden Knowledge. And last week on Coast to Coast and on Fade to Black, I had Donnie Arcade, on the show, an amazing rapper, an amazing artist, for sure. but who is literally speaking about these subjects that I thought were going to remain taboo in the black community. And these guys, along with yourself, are pushing this forward. Why is it that the black community, if they are having these experiences, are reticent to speak up about it?
You know, I think a lot of it has to do with the indoctrination of religious beliefs a lot of times, and just the fact that the mainstream has been so much dominated by the images, especially concerning extraterrestrials, that them looking like Fabio and Christy Brinkley. You know, I've joked about that a little bit, but that is in the mainstream, and the fact that you don't see many melanin-dominant black experiencers talking at these conferences is another very discouraging fact. So when you start dealing with these and combining that, it makes people stay silent. But, you know, what's beautiful right now is that with the consciousness, the shift in consciousness that we're seeing right now, things are going forward. As a species, we're going forward, and people are coming forward. So I think it's becoming more of us becoming a type 1 civilization, perhaps finally. So I'm glad to see all these brothers and sisters coming out. It's a wonderful thing.
Well, you know, after you've gone through your experiences, I had Stanton Friedman on the show last night, and one of the great encounters of all of ufology is the Betty and Barney Hill case. And now that you have experienced this community and what it's like to come forward, can you imagine what Barney Hill went through, being, a mixed marriage in 1962, and then choosing to come forward and very publicly about his experiences? It makes you appreciate things a little more, probably.
Oh, definitely. You know, when I first, because my experiences started at a very, very young age, and when I first started trying to investigate the areas of ufology and paranormal activity, the only contactee I could find that looked like me was Barney Hill.
Right.
But then I became a little bit panicked because his experiences were not exactly like mine. My stuff was really on the positive side, but his was not necessarily a positive experience. And I started getting worried about, you know, was my mind wiped, and is that why some of these experiences were somewhat fragmented in terms of time.
Right. And of course, when you say look like me, you're referring to skin color, because you're much better looking. Okay, so let's put that out there right now. So when I first heard you speak, and I sat there for those 2 hours, I've said this many times, but I nearly tackled you and approached you as you left the stage, and I didn't want to freak you out. You know, who's this dude, man? Just coming all up, you know, in me, but in my face. But your message and your experiences and the way that you deliver it is just so compelling, and I just could not stop listening to your story. And the part that grabbed me first is what I want to talk about now, which of course is your childhood. You were born and raised in Kansas. And what was your upbringing like there? And were there in your family, right? In your family, was there talk of the paranormal and the supernatural in the Littleton house?
You know, that was no, not to that degree. I mean, my sisters and my siblings are quite a bit older than I. I'd say, you know, my oldest brother is 18 years older than me, and the youngest is 12. So there's a difference between us in age. So a lot of them are already gone. But so it's just I was there with my mother and father quite a bit. I had a couple of experiences with my mother. And, you know, other things were happening. Like I would wake up at night and I wouldn't be in my bed. I'd be at this, I thought it was another school in which they have you doing things that are psychokinetic, like move water with your mind, move feathers with your mind, play with these little balls. And I knew this was real, but I couldn't prove it, you know. And then I had a couple experiences with my mother where I actually saw a craft as a child, and that was kind of what started a bunch of events that would go into when I started asking for things more tangible to happen, was from a couple of childhood experiences.
Now, that first sighting for you were 7 years old, you were with your mom, and you were going to, is this the Stretch Armstrong story?
Yeah.
It is, right? Right. So everybody wanted one of those, no doubt, right? No doubt. And so you're with your mom to go get a Stretch Armstrong, heading, I guess, to the mall or a toy store, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. We were at a place, Eastgate Mall, it's called. We're on the way to get this Stretch Armstrong, and my mother, we started hearing the sound, and we look up, and there's this a ship up there hovering over the mall there. And it's fairly large, and it's got these grates on it and these windows going around it. And I remember my mother saying, well, it must be for an advertisement for the car lots across Kellogg there across the street. And then it kind of took off, and she knew that it wasn't. But what's interesting is that I had kind of forgotten seeing that until I got older. I kind of phased this out. And that was really unusual until my mother actually reminded me of it when I was older. And I had to go back and investigate even that experience itself and why it was fragmented, if that makes sense.
How did your mom remind you of it?
I went over to her house for lunch one day, and she was going to throw out, I had a box of Omni magazines. I always liked Omni. They had a center part of it called Antimatter. Yep. And I was looking at the Antimatter, and they had all these different UFO configurations up there. And she's walking by, and she points to it, and she goes, oh, that one looks like the one you and I saw. And then she kept walking. I turned around, what? I said, what are you talking about? And then she looked at me, she goes, you, with your incredible memory, Mr. Star Trek guy, you can't remember seeing that UFO? And then I had her describe it to me, and actually kind of we drew it out and everything. And then I kept thinking, well, maybe I didn't really see it. And later on, my brother started yelling at me. He said, yeah, you saw it. When I came home, you and Mom were both going on and on about it.
I was just going to say, I learned more from Omni Magazine than probably, 15 years of formal education.
Yeah, wasn't it great? It hurt. It took my heart when that magazine got canceled.
Yeah, I remember hearing... Right? This is the last issue of Omni. I was like, no.
Yeah.
No. I just look forward to Omni every single month. But anyway, okay, so your mom called you Mr. UFO.
Mr. Star Trek guy.
Yeah, Mr. Star Trek.
Yeah, like I think many contactees, we tend to drift to certain science fiction areas because they can mimic some things we've seen, and it feels more home-like than what we see out here sometimes.
Now, when your mom reminded you of that day with the Stretch Armstrong, did the memories come flooding back? Did you remember the craft in the windows?
Yeah, once you described it, and a couple of things she said, it triggered that I could remember it then. Then I could see the configuration of it, its size, and everything. But then I just became concerned about why it was I couldn't recall it until she triggered me. When I have so many memories, I could sure remember going to get that Stretch Armstrong. That was very important. But I couldn't remember seeing this craft. And that has something to do with the bilocation that happens when some of these craft are in our vicinity. I didn't understand it at that time, of course, but I had to get into my adult years to understand my contact experiences to really put it together.
Man, I wish my mom would tell me something like that, or have said something like that to me. That's a pretty cool thing. For her, what was her demeanor like? Did she believe that what you guys saw was a flying saucer?
Yeah, she believed that it was not of Earth. She didn't. She thought it was too. She said she thought it was man-made until it almost disappeared till it was like a dot in the sky. And it was so far away in that flash that she knew it couldn't have been man-made.
Is she still around? Is your mom still around?
No, she actually passed 4 years ago.
Oh,
just
man.
Before. She's part of the reason that I started speaking out. She told me I was supposed to do something, and that's why I still had my life memories.
I mean, she sounds cool. I would have loved to have gotten her on the show, but we just missed the chance for that. But that would just be amazing to do that. I tried to get my mom on the show, by the way. She was, I did. Did I tell you about that?
No.
Yeah. My mom was so cool. She was out of her mind, Barry. Ouija boards and Edgar Casey books and Eric Von Daniken back in the day. This is like 1969, 1970. You weren't born yet, but back then. And my mom was probably, late 20s at this time. Very cool woman. But, and she was so fundamental in who I am today, and so she's watching, she passed away a couple of years ago, but right before she passed, I asked her, I said, Mom, cause she's watching Hangar One, right? She's listening to Coast to Coast and Fade to Black. And she's happy. She's proud. Her son's out there doing things. Well, anyway, I asked her, I said, hey, Mom, why don't you come on the show? She's like, why? Well, we'll talk about the old days, ghost writing and you and Aunt Z and the Ouija boards and Eric Von Daniken and UFOs and Edgar Casey. She goes, Nah, I was just young and crazy. No. I was like, Mom. She goes, yeah, I know. No. So there you go. I couldn't talk her into it. I thought, you know what she wanted to come on and talk about? I'm not making this up. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. She's 80 years old. She goes, I'll talk about my Bucks. I was like, okay, Mom. All right.
Interestingly enough, the first time I spoke at ECETI in 2016, I got actually, the day that I spoke got changed. I was the very first presenter. And it was on June 30th, which was the day that my mother passed. It was a 2-year anniversary of her passing. And that was the first conference I ever spoke at. I've only spoke at 3, but that was the first one.
Right.
So I thought that whole land out there kind of brings things up and allows you to deal with it, any trauma you might have. It's a very interesting place.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. And that morning, funny enough, we'll talk about ECETI a little bit later in the program. But that morning that I was listening to you there at ECETI, that's when the fairies took my ring. Yeah. I was, where I was sitting, right, in the back in that white leather chair. And that the next day, that's where my ring was found, underneath that chair. And I was sitting listening to you. I still don't know. The fairies took it. I know how, but I didn't know. But that's when I was listening to you. The famous fairy ring incident was because of Barry Littleton, and I still have the ring. I got it back. So now back to this between. You're 7 years old, and you had a couple of things with friends and playmates in the playground. But you didn't really know what was going on, did you? I mean, I find that one of the most interesting parts of your experiences is that they were trying to make friends with you. They were trying to not scare you or freak you out.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It was just right in front of my house. I would just be trying to make like little dams to stop the water from going around the curb, like somebody's washing their car or something. And there was a kid, I thought, that would show up sometimes and just play with me for little short periods, and then he'd take off. But, and then I realized I'd say, what school do you go to? He didn't seem to go to my school. And there was another school that was kind of up the street more, a little ways away. He didn't go there either. He said, no, I'm just here visiting family. And at that time, I couldn't put together, I knew that he was a telepath like myself. And he was speaking without moving his mouth. It was coming into my mind. So that was just that's the only thing that but I took it for granted that he was just another child because he was playing with me.
Now, as an adult, that would freak you out. As a kid, this is going on. You didn't put 2 and 2 together and think that this might be a little strange?
Well, I think it says a little, honestly, that we have to understand, Jimmy, that some of these beings can project, I think, consciousness through their optical nerves, and we can perceive them as not fully what they are. And in that way, so I just took him to be just kind of another kid without seeing him truly what he was until a few years later when I saw him on one of these craft. And that's when he looked different. But this is the same individual that had played with me. But he looked different on this craft, and he felt different there. He felt much more ancient, if that makes sense.
Well, sure it does, but the fact that he was speaking telepathically and not moving his lips, like I said, as an adult, you would lose your mind. As a kid, you just went with it, apparently.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Well, you start becoming, outside, before you become 10, you start becoming aware that a lot of your playmates can't do it. You might think to them and they can't respond, or you'll pick things up off them and try to respond and they don't seem to catch it. So this was, and every now and again you might catch another kid that can, or you guys will pick up information off each other. But in this instance, he was very strong telepath. And that's something I did just kind of think, well, this is cool, and kind of went with it in a friendship way instead of questioning it the way I would as an adult.
What about the other kids in the neighborhood? Was he making friends with them? And did you speak to your friends about the strange kid with telepathy?
Yeah, there was a lot of kids in our neighborhood, and every time someone else would come around, he would leave. And especially when normally, because I was very well supervised. So before one of my parent or my brother or somebody would pop right out there, he'd just have to take off. You know what I mean? It was very interesting in that way. And one day I remember, only time I remember seeing him around when other kids were there was the day a kid was going to push me off of a slide during after school when our parents were in conferences. Mm-hmm. We're out there playing on the ground. These kids were going to push me off this slide, and he stopped them. And I remember him being out there for a second then, but not that they saw him and thought that he was a non-human, He blended in.
Unbelievable. And to do that at the age of 7 and not freak out, not run to your parents, not run to the police or your teachers or anything like that, just to go with it, seems to me that somehow you were put at ease and it was an indication of a life of contact.
Well, that was fine, Jimmy, until I was in the 6th grade, and I had I call it the acid rain experience. And that one was, so vivid, and it was so real that it changed my life. That's when I knew that what was happening to me was real, and that's when I also could put this kid that had showed up. I knew then that he wasn't a kid, because I woke up on board this craft. And this is a physical experience. It's not astral. It's not a dream deal. It's physical. I was there. And there's always this type of a sickness you kind of feel when you're on board these craft. I call it, they call it actually temporal aphasia, because you're not in the same dimension, I think, as we are here, 3D. And it kind of makes you sick. And it's so that I was dealing with that. But in this deal was, there's an engine behind us, but in the front, there's this huge screen.
Okay, let me jump in right there. We need to take a break. I don't want to cut you off in the middle of this. It's too important. So let's do that when we come back. Our guest tonight, Barry Littleton. This is day 3 of UFO Week right here on Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. More with Barry after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only use night vision goggles from Bearing Optics. You can see your very own green chrome balls today by clicking on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Barry Littleton. This is our day 3 of Fade to Black week, of UFO week on Fade to Black. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Very simple. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. Now, back to Barry. Barry, right before the break, we were in discussions about the acid rain experience for you that happened in the 6th grade. What happened?
You know, I had woke up and I was on board this ship, and I don't sleep well anyway, so halfway awake anyway, but I woke up on the ship physically. And in the back of this ship on this room, this deck I was on, is this huge engine, all right? And on the front, though, is this screen. There's a large screen And on the screen, I can see that we're like over this mountain pass, and I can see two other ships that are on the screen, and they look like they're sucking up smog, what I know now is smog, underneath them. And when to the right of this is this insectoid being that looks like a grasshopper, not a praying mantis, like so we hear so much in the phenomenon right now, but he looked more like a grasshopper with a milky colored eyes. And this was with the same individual, though, that had been playing with me, but he's got on a different attire, and he's just different. I could see him fully, if that makes sense. And he's telling me that the acid rain is very bad for our planet, and that they're having a problem trying to reverse it.
How did you know it was him?
You get certain feelings when you're around someone, especially when they're a telepath. You get a definite feeling. But what's interesting is just he felt more like a scientist to me there, an ancient scientist. And suddenly he didn't feel like a kid anymore, though. But I just knew it was still him, if that makes sense.
It does. How did you know it was physical, that this wasn't a dream?
Each time I've been on board one of these craft, I've experienced what they actually call temporal aphasia, because they said the dimensions are out of sync. So it's this sickness, and to me it feels a lot like, now I'll tell you, if you get on a roller coaster and when you first take that first big dip, how it takes your stomach, it feels like that, and being on a merry-go-round the entire time. It's this nausea, and that it makes it hard to function. So that's how I know it's a physical deal, because sometimes it's hard to not almost to puke. Sometimes that's the way I can describe that.
Right.
But, and there's also this. There's a type of mist on board these craft that kind of makes the breathing a little more difficult. It's not real bad, but it's just a very thin mist.
What happens next? And I want to go back to the engine too as well, because your description of this is pretty ginormous. I don't want to use the wrong word here, but the room itself and the engine is quite huge. But let's go back to the acid rain. You hadn't heard that term before.
No. And, I tend to ask a lot of times, and telethought is instant. So you ask a lot of time, are you lying to me? Because I've never heard that term.
What happens next?
Probably a couple of days later, our teacher has she used to give us once a month we had to read the Scholastic News. And she would always call somebody to stand up there in front of everybody and read this horrible, traumatizing thing for any child. But this time, on this particular edition of Scholastic News was the Statue of Liberty. And when I get up, she called on me. I get up there and start reading it, and it starts saying that the Statue of Liberty was shut down due to it being repainted because it had been damaged by acid rain. And then the article went into describing what acid rain was. And, when I was reading that and it said acid rain, just trying to acid rain, I started kind of yelling, I think, and I remember everybody laughing at me because it was really kind of traumatizing to see that. But at that point, I knew that what I experienced at night was not only just physical, it was definitely real, very real.
Did you hold back? You could have at that point. Well, the other day, I was hanging out with E.T. and he, but you can't do it, can you?
No, because it although it was physical for me, I had no proof. I couldn't have proved anything. I said, well, somebody else told me about this when I woke up on board this spaceship. No one would have believed that. So I started asking for more tangible experiences, more tangible evidence. I started shooting my telethought out there. I tried doing the whole thing to try to make sure that I could have a more physical experience.
And did you?
One that I could prove something was happening.
Right.
Everything calmed down. My experiences seemed to kind of stop for about the age of 13 to 17. I don't remember anything, but one thing happened that I saw another engine. I woke up by another engine, but outside of that, I didn't have any major experiences like that until I turned 18. And then I started having a physical experience, and somebody else was with me, and it was. Sometimes I guess although it was not a negative experience, I would say watch what you wish for sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, we'll come back to your 17, 18-year-old stuff here in just a second. I want to go back to this engine. When you how big was this engine room?
It was large. Okay, it had these three crystals that were in this container. Okay, like this. It appeared to be a glass container, and they were wrapped with what I would say were similar to copper. But each of these crystals was about 3 feet wide by about 9 feet tall. Okay, they were huge. And I'd never seen crystals like that. And what most stood out to me about them was that they had a bioluminescence, a light that was emitting from the inside. And with the exception of like TV movies, I'd never seen crystals do that. Earth crystals don't do that. Okay, so this room was, the room itself was huge. So in some ways it would almost seem more like a cargo bay in some ways, large like that, if that makes sense.
Like on a ship?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, are we talking about, when we describe these three crystals that are 9 or 10 feet tall, were they stacked up end to end?
No, they were actually sitting vertically.
They were
all three of them. And he starts telling me telepathically. He says that engine cannot just power mini craft or power Legion craft. It can also power small planets. And so so they meaning that this thing was that possible. Then he says it can also heal human flesh. And these things start moving. Okay, the crystals start spinning. And they start spinning so fast, Jimmy, that I almost can't see them anymore. And I'm hearing this basal hum starts coming from this engine. And he's telling me that this hum, the sound I'm hearing, can actually heal human flesh. So not just is this a power generator of some type, it's also capable of healing. Now, when I look currently at that guy that was Kesh made a lot of plasma generators. And when I look at some of his generators, some of them have a similar configuration. So it always makes me wonder what that gentleman saw and where he got that idea, because I've seen something quite similar.
You're talking about
on a much more grand scale.
Talking about Keshi from India?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
The room, were you alone in there, just you and your childhood friend?
Yeah, just him. He's the only individual I saw in there.
What was what was he wearing, Barry? Do you remember?
Yeah, he had on like a white, I want to say the shirt is like a tunic, and the pants were like, it was very long, so I could only see his legs like just from above, kind of above the ankle, around the calf down. And it was a white uniform, and it had a golden sash going up the middle of it. On my YouTube channel, I have a video entitled Xandar, and I have an illustration there that shows somewhat similar to what he had on there. Kind of the way he looked anyway.
So did you go, hey, man, you were my friend when we were 7, right? Did you ask him the obvious?
Well, I spent the first time asking, where was he from?
And?
He says, you won't understand. And of course, I thought I was, as much science fiction as I watched, I thought I was highly intelligent. So I said, lay it on me, I will understand. And he communicates, he says, go about 700 million light years out above the space-time continuum, the exo-space-time continuum. I didn't know what that meant. And then he says, so since you don't understand that, you can focus on the 3rd and 4th planet outside of Pluto, where we have bases that are jumping off points for your solar system, because we have problems with the density. Now, automatically I respond with, are you lying to me? Because there is no 3rd and 4th planet outside of Pluto. And at that time, our science had not found that yet.
That's right, but there are today. Isn't that interesting?
Yes, the trans-Neptunian objects. I mean, the day I heard that, they announced that in, 2002? It blew me away, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, they just announced another planet 3 days ago. Did you hear about that?
No, not yet.
Yeah, right behind Neptune. The ninth planet. Yeah. Yeah, very interesting.
You mean the ninth? Yeah, I've heard about that actually. That's supposed to be. They're saying they haven't fully proved it yet, though, have they?
Well, the orbit. Well, see, this is the thing that there are. I don't want to get too far off onto a tangent here, but there are 3 or 4 objects that run in a 30-degree orbital plane that is against what is normal in our solar system, right? So it's 30 degrees off. And the only thing that can cause this and make the mathematics work is a body out behind Neptune 10 to 20 times the size of Earth that is out there. Now, remember, Neptune was just discovered, right? This is not, we haven't known about Neptune for, 500 years. This is a recent discovery, just like Pluto. And but the only thing that could cause it is this. And when they take the planet away, then the math doesn't work. Right? Do you follow what I'm saying? So now that they were also, this was headline news on Fox 2 days ago. One of the things that they stated there is that telescopes could possibly pick it up. But we have to get those telescopes built and out into space to see that far deep because it can't pick up the sun. It's too far out, right? So there you go. And because it's being blocked, light is being blocked by Neptune, potentially, then the planet is actually dark. So it could be a while before it's proven and we name this thing and we find it. But nonetheless, a pretty big announcement. It was a pretty big announcement. And to hear something like this come from Xandar is pretty amazing to me because these things are being announced by science every single day.
When they found the things, trans-Neptunian objects, there's several of them outside of Pluto that are even larger than Pluto, that, there's a whole other Kuiper belt out there. Mm-hmm. But they're finding that the orbit that they're having out there, they're being attracted by a huge body as well, that a lot of the astronomers are saying that they believe might be a red dwarf, and that we're in a binary star system.
That's right.
I find that fascinating.
It is fascinating. Walter Cruttenden has been talking about this for a very long time. And, us being binary, by the way, makes us normal, right? Most of the star systems out there are binary, right? And for us to think that we are not makes us very abnormal. And that's totally interesting. Yeah, and the Kuiper belt, when you throw that into the mix, there's a lot of possibilities here. And we don't know. I see that's the thing. We don't know really what's going on out there. We don't have the power to do it. And just like Pluto, I don't know if you know this, but I stated this fact the other day. Pluto, between the time that it was discovered and named as a planet to the time that it was removed as being a planet, never made one orbit around the sun.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how far out there it is. That's all that I'm saying. Okay, so now let's go back to this. So now you have this weird acid rain confirmation in the 6th grade, and things chilled out for the most part all the way until you were 17. What changed?
18. Well, 18, I was with a gal, the lady that I was actually dating at the time. And we went out into the country to go meditate, unquote. And we get out there, and the meditation was great, but I had a craft that it materialized over this pond we were parked near. And then that included seeing this thing, and then getting her seeing it, and then suddenly we're out of the car, and time has like been missing. You know, we were missing like 4 hours of time. It went along with kind of when it disappeared the first time, suddenly we're outside of the car, and she had seen this thing too. We're outside of the car, and I didn't remember the car being turned around. Everything was off there, and we're watching the ship put on like a bit of a show. And another one comes up that she's even more watching it putting on the show. Okay, and then as a result, after this show is done, we're missing about 4.5 hours of time. And that didn't make sense because I could still see, like, I knew I'd been on board this thing because I could see some of the technologies. I could see some of the faces of the beings. But then it starts kind of fading away as time goes on. I mean, almost immediately. And that was somewhat alarming, you know what I mean? So that pertains to a lot of fragmented time. Because what I could see and remember was by no means long enough for the time we were both missing. And fortunately, that type of delusion isn't shared seeing a ship like that.
And what did she think?
You know, at first, she seemed to be very intrigued by it at first, to where we were both trying to go back out there and see if we could replicate the experience again. We must have went out there a dozen times trying to get this to happen again, and nothing. So, because sometimes when you have the initial experience, it can be, if it's a positive one, the vibration of it can be very uplifting. So you're kind of charged up afterwards. But I think as time went on, I actually had 3 separate experiences with her that entailed a lot of almost 18 hours of missing time I was suffering from. So I think after the third one, I think she didn't really enjoy the missing time, and I think she wanted to get away from that. I can't say I blame her. It's not for everybody. No.
Do you? Yeah, right. I know. Do you still talk to her?
No. We occasionally run into each other, but that's never mentioned. I think that probably better that way, you know. But I personally could never leave alone what happened to me. None of those experiences. I was always, you know, somewhat obsessed about them. So I wanted to more investigate what happened to me. Why couldn't I remember all these, what happened to me, especially what happened during the missing time? So I continued on, you know.
Now, you work with at-risk youth. Do they know about this?
No, they wouldn't know. I mostly do consultation now for youth facilities. I don't exactly work with the clients anymore. So not to my extent, I haven't. So, but if I did, and when I did, no, I didn't mention any of this to them, definitely. And honestly, no one, maybe 1 or 2 people in my personal life knew about this before I actually came out. That's something that I communicated to others. It definitely wouldn't be one that would help your career.
Well, what are you going to do when somebody's going to pull you aside that you work with, maybe even your boss? And, you know, I was listening to Fade to Black last night. Barry, you want to talk to me? What are you going to do about that? I mean, you are very public now. I mean, Coast to Coast and Fade to Black, these are not small shows. You never know who's listening, Barry.
You know, it's interesting you say that. I had actually a friend that stopped me that was a fan of yours and listened to the other show that we did, the first one. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, when that happens, I've been public now. I'm not exactly a pushover, so I'll tell exactly how I've been very public about my experiences, so I'll relay it. You know, I don't have a problem with that. But I think that when actually the reality of it, when you talk to someone, they realize, well, first of all, I know this person, they're not crazy. They can dismiss that. The second thing is that they know someone that has actually been through experiences like that. So it's more likely that the people that come forward to me now are people that have had experiences and are looking for someone just to talk to. That's what I'm getting more.
It's so fun when that happens. We've got to head towards a break, but I'll tell you, I didn't even tell Rita about this. It happens so often now that, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But I had this little ear issue, right? So, I'm at the doctor's office, and, I'm checking in with this receptionist, behind the counter. And so this assistant comes out. I'm in the waiting room, and now they do, everything is on iPads these days, right? So it brings me an iPad. And he comes up to me, and I'm going to say he was 23, 24, 25, young kid, cool. But he comes up and he hands me the iPad, and he goes, okay, so just go through these 4 pages and click and sign each one. I said, okay. And he leans over and he goes, hey, man, I heard you on Coast to Coast. I said, what? I said, what? He goes, yeah, man, I'm an insider. I said, right on. And he just kind of, and he walks back in the office. And I'm sitting there with the iPad, but he wouldn't say it out loud. It was so funny, man. It was just too funny. And I just enjoyed the moment because I was in a lot of pain. I was in discomfort, but that was pretty cool for that to happen. I just had my little moment, and the pain went away just for a few minutes when that went down. Now we're gonna head to a break. After all of these experiences that you went through, life of contact, sightings, things. You're 18 years old. You're going through at this point of your life when you're 18 with your girlfriend. I guess I don't know if she was your girlfriend, but I'll say that now. With your girlfriend, these are personal life experiences, and at that age, they're absolutely extraordinary. After that, Barry, after the age of 18, any contact?
Yeah, I had went on for several years, up until the time I was about, almost 25. I was still having these experiences. And then they seemed to pretty much stop. I still would get information from them, okay, and things like that come in quite a bit. But as far as having these physical experiences, they seemed to stop after about the age of 26. And I thought I was honestly done with that and that part of my life until about 2 years ago.
And we're going to I'm going to stop you in your tracks right there. We're going to discuss that when we come back. And I wanted to ask you this really quick. I've got about 1 minute. Since I saw you last when we were hanging out last year at ECETI, then December 2017 rolls around with the mass media talking about UFOs on every single channel and news outlet all around the world. How did that hit you?
I think it's part of the shift in consciousness. It's just like I was talking about earlier, that people are just becoming more awakened, and so much of our population has had contact and is interested in this that it's starting to show. That's what it hit me, in that way, which is wonderful because
I was cool with it, and I still am. I'm glad that it happened. But I just feel strange when I see Tucker Carlson with his bow tie and says UFO. It just, dude, it's still not right, man. It doesn't feel right to me. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight is Barry Littleton, and we're going to pick up right where we're leaving off. It's Fade to Black, day 3 of UFO week, right here on Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, day 3 of our UFO week right here on Fade to Black. And our guest tonight is Barry Littleton. You know what? I never do this, but I'm going to do it right now. Just got Fit Nick from the UK just tweeted out, hey, man, longtime listener from the UK, give me a shout out. There you go. I just did it. I never... Barry, if I did shout-outs, I would do 3 hours of shout-outs every single night. But Fit Nick, it makes you wonder. If somebody says they're fit, right? Fit Nick, it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
I hope it just makes you wonder.
What's up, Fit Nick? I'll give you a shout-out. What up?
Yeah, Fit Nick
cool.
from the UK. All right. Right. So now 2 years ago is 2016, and you do what everybody should do. You get on the road and you go to ECETI Ranch. Now, before we get to that, what did you know about ECETI before you went there for the first time?
I knew more about James Gilliland. I had followed his work in high school. He's been out for a while.
Right.
And I liked it because he talked about the different types of craft. I know that he said that a lot of them were seen out at the ranch, especially when he goes into conscious craft. I've seen conscious craft, so I was very interested in that. So I knew only that premises. And then he had contacted me to do, I was on his show, and that kind of what precipitated all that.
Tell me about it. What happened?
Which part? I'm sorry.
When you know what I want to know? What I want to know is if you experienced what I experienced. I'm not going to say anything. You pull into the gates for the first time, right? And you see it right there, ECETI, and the gate opens and you pull through. That's what I want to know. Did you feel anything? Did it feel different?
Yeah, one is I was invited to speak out there, and I was somewhat apprehensive to go. I've never been that deep in the mountains or on that side of the country at all, so I was. But when, I will say this: before getting there, though, I believe the land was calling me, and when I say that, I was having an obsession about looking at albino Bigfoot videos on YouTube.
What? There's no such thing. What?
Well, I didn't realize this weird obsession was, and then when I get there and I get to the date at the gates and through, which is interesting because I was unprepared for how remote the ranch actually was, to be honest. And immediately I start feeling like I'm being watched as soon as I got on that property.
Wait a minute here. I'm looking it up. Albino Bigfoot video. Oh my goodness, there's tons of them.
I'm gonna tell you the one that kept coming through. Not coming through. I say that now, but I was obsessed looking. There's a guy named Thinker Thunker that does a Bigfoot white Sasquatch analysis, and another guy, M.K. Davis, that does he's got a couple of them on white Sasquatch also, albino Sasquatch, and I was obsessively watching these videos, and I didn't know why. But then I get out there, and I start feeling like I'm being watched. And that's before everybody kindly tells me, oh, yeah, we got Sasquatch running around out here, Oh, okay. That was the first eye-opener walking on that property. And I don't camp much, so I wanted to be in they put me in one of the cabins.
Right.
And the cabins is kind of in the back of the property there.
Right.
And weird stuff started happening to me down there. Down there, I especially felt like I was being watched. And then I was trying to do this little meditation on these logs they have kind of in the back of it.
Yes.
And like probably on the second day I was there this broken tree, and I tried to just dismiss it because it was I'm out in the mountains. Maybe it's a rotten tree, but it wasn't rotten, and I couldn't explain that, but I just wrote it off. 2 days after that, there's another one broken right next to it. And these things are about 8 feet up, Jimmy. And it's just across the little it's kind of like it's a marsh back there behind these urns.
That's right. And the yurts. And look, I walked back there 2 weeks ago where all of the yurts are. And that you were being watched, Barry. There you walk around back there. I don't know how many yurts there are, but there's a pretty good collection of them. I don't know. What is there? Probably a dozen, maybe? I don't know. I don't know. But you walk around back there, and it's pretty magical. That's a pretty isolated situation. I don't know how to explain it. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. But you walk back there, and the way that the yurts are arranged, and it's very beautiful. And you don't hear much back there. You're away from everybody. You're disconnected, and there's something going on. I totally, I'm totally with you on that.
So dig this, okay? So these broken trees, that was really, really odd. Okay, now a few days after that, after the conference is over, this is maybe 2 days after the conference is over, I went actually into Hood River, into town with Peter Maxwell Slattery. And then we come back, so we're gone a couple of hours. We come back, and I'm going to drop my supplies off in the urn before dinner, before dinner. And, Jimmy, there is a rectangular river stone on the porch, on the rug, on the front doorstep. And it's set up vertically. And it's very odd. It's got like basalt around the side of it, like little round basalt. Mm-hmm. And I picked this thing up. I said, well, I almost would have tripped over it if it would have been darker. And I said, well, what is this? And I said, I didn't knock anything over. It wasn't one of these. It was so odd. I'd take it and throw it on the side of the urn and go for dinner. Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of watching the trail that goes down there during all dinner. And Peter and everybody's going, what are you looking at over there? I was like, well, I told Peter, I said, well, I think somebody's messing with me down there. Someone's playing jokes on me. There's this river stone in front of my doorstep, and I don't know why, but I've been being watched down there. Someone's messing with me. And I thought it was a person. I was just going to catch him, And Peter says, well, show me the rock. We get done eating, and we go down there. And I said, well, I threw it on the side of the yurt there, and Jimmy, it's gone.
Oh, really?
Yes, the rock is gone. And no one went down that trail because, you can pull you can sit where you can watch those trails when you're eating. Yes. And whoever it was, if it was Albert or any of those people that were down there, I was going to catch them. Right. We're going to make a fool out of me.
Right.
But we go back down there, the rock is gone. And that was a big shocker. And then I was tripping. And the next day, we're in Hood River, and James Gilliam is... he comes up, he goes, man, you're being awful quiet today. And I said, well, somebody's messing with me down there in those urns. And when I told him, he looks at me real funny. He goes, that's a calling card for Sasquatch. They're known to put river stones on people's porches, or also bundles of sticks. He said, I think you're being welcomed. And that's when I asked him, I said, well, do you have an albino one out there, a blonde one out there?
Oh, man.
He looks at me, he shakes his head, he said, yes, there are two.
See, I'm not laughing. I'm not questioning your sanity here or what. If you're ECETI is ECETI, and that's it. That's it. I've been on the fence about Bigfoot for many, 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 many years. I'll talk to the guests, I'll do the interviews, sightings, this, that. I've got very close friends that have had their experiences, but I haven't had mine, and technically still haven't. But 2 weeks ago, up there at ECETI, we had 4 young boys that became friends, and they're out there, chasing grasshoppers and goofing around all day long, trying to find Bigfoot, And, I would say between the ages of like 6 and 12, and there's 4 of them. And one of them comes up, his name's Phoenix, and he comes up to me, and I'm sitting at the fire pit in the middle of the day, and he comes up and he whispers, hey, Jimmy, you want to see, I think we found a Bigfoot print. You want to see it? I was like, well, how far away is it, right? I didn't want to walk to Hood River. He goes, it's right over here. I said, okay. So I get up, I walk with him, and Barry, it's a frigging Bigfoot print. And it's like almost 2 feet, and it's in the grass, and it's like 2 inches deep. Toes, heel, it's a big footprint. I couldn't believe what I was looking at, and I'm looking at these 4 boys, and I'm blown away, But what you just said, you were tripping. What I was tripping on, I'm looking at my feet, not the size of my feet. I'm 200 pounds. I'm not a small guy. I'm not denting the ground. Right? I'm not denting it. I'm not leaving footprints. And I'm looking at this, and I'm sticking my finger in the ground. My whole finger is going in, and I'm like blown away. That's it. Everybody started to gather. We backed everybody. We found 4. and left, right footprints in the field of dreams and going in an arch. Now, I backed up and thought to myself, something made that. And the footprints were like 5.5 feet apart. You can't make that step. As you know, I'm 6 foot tall. You know that, and I'm trying to step in between these steps. I couldn't make it. I couldn't step that far, and that's when you have to stop and really absorb and think through what it is that we're dealing with here and what it is that we found. And there you go. You know, so when you're telling me something like this, it's ECETI, man. it's ECETI.
You know, I'll tell you, my friend. One is, you know, when I'm coming to terms with this, and these sticks in the back of the yurt were broken 8 feet up, and if I was going to push something over, we'd push it over about chest height. So that means whoever pushed it over had been pushing 11 and a half, 12 feet tall.
Right. Right.
And that was just hard to take.
It is. You know? It's hard. It's hard.
Well, I'll tell you, not just that, but Jimmy, I don't sleep very well, and I like to go out to the field of dreams. ECETI, that Mount Adams becomes very active about 3 a.m. 3 to 4, you can see more ships out there, or iridium flares, whatever people want to say, but you see a lot more around 3 a.m. out there. But going from the yurt to the yurts to the field of dreams was always very creepy. It's the only thing I can tell you. Because you can't see how, if something, you feel like you're being watched, you know, that whole thing. So I had probably went down there, and I was walking down there. It's about 3:30 a.m., and I shut off my flashlight, and it's just pitch black. And I said it verbally, and I threw out my telepathy too. I said, hey, look, I know that I want to have an encounter. I'm like from Kansas. I'd love to have an encounter. But the truth is, if one of y'all steps out of the bushes on me, the trees, and you're 12 feet tall, I'm not going to be able to take it. I'm going to freak out. So just don't do it.
So what happened?
Nothing. I go back and I sit. I go sit in the yurt. And I'm trying to sit on the end of the bed and try to, you know, just lay down. And maybe about 10 minutes later, I start getting what a lot of the researchers we would all call mind speak. I call it telepathy, but a mind speak. And it was very strong. I'm a telepath. This was very strong. And when I say that, this came with not just like words, it comes with telethought, with telepictures. And I'm getting pictures of telethought of a 12-foot Sasquatch doing a backflip, saying that this is a much better communication, and that it's illegal for them to be seen by us. That's what he's communicating to me.
Wow.
And tells me I could refer to him as elder.
Wow.
And you know, and then I get this, and I didn't understand. It was so strong. The telepathy came so quick, and then this channel was shut off. And when I say that, I couldn't get it to start again. I tried to force my way back through. It was done. But this was a very strong telepath. And I had to deal with the fact that this individual that was watching me I had just done a YouTube video on invisibility. And it's out there getting done on me out of this ranch.
ECETI, man. It's ECETI, man. It's ECETI. It's ECETI. Now, you let me look at the clock here. We got to get all of this in. Also, I don't even know how to describe it. Mount Adams. You know what? I'm just going to throw it out to you. What happened? You were out looking at Mount Adams. Who were you with?
Okay, I was with a gentleman named Albert LaGrange. He worked out there. Like I think both summers. He's a younger guy, probably about 27, I think. We were like just walk. He's one person, didn't sleep good, so sometimes we just walk at night and just talk a little bit.
What time?
We were walking around the field of dreams.
What time?
We walked over to what? It's probably about 2 a.m., I'd say.
Okay, 2 a.m., field of dreams.
Yeah, and we go to the Pleiadian Circle is what they call it there.
Man, you're you're asking for trouble. I mean,
What is that?
I mean, 2 a.m., Field of Dreams, Palladian Circle.
Well, their chairs in the Palladian Circle. I want to sit down. So we're just sitting in the chairs and talking, and that's when this happens. You just see a lot of objects out there.
You do.
But this one on the side of Mount Adams there is another mountain range that they call Sleeping Lady, because it kind of looks like a lady laying down. And we see like near this, there's a tree in the Palladian Circle, and I see a star there so bright that I think it must be Jupiter at first. But then I become aware of this star moving. And then Albert starts following. He says something funny. He goes, "You seeing that star over here?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And then it starts moving down, and it starts morphing on us. It turns into 5. It goes elongated, goes back into 1, then goes lateral and turns back into 1.
Right.
And it starts moving down towards this mountain. And at this time, Albert's over there breathing real heavy. He's like, "Oh!" He's got like hyperventilating a little bit. All right. But then this ship goes down to, in the middle of this Sleeping Lady is the tallest peak is called, I think, Flathead Mountain. And it comes down towards Flat Mountain, and it goes behind it, and it disappears. Now, Jimmy, about maybe 3 seconds later, 2 seconds later, it reappears. I can see it again. And what I'm saying is I can see it through the mountain. And I'm saying, okay, this must be something wrong with my I'm seeing it. It must have came down. My visual acuity must be off. It must have came down in front of the mountain and powered off and then powered back up. And then it goes off. It comes back on. It goes above the mountain range again, and it goes back down behind the mountain, goes out, and then comes back on and does this again. There's no doubt what I'm seeing. And poor Albert's over there. He looks like he's been like playing a whole football game or something. He's got on his knees going, just hyperventilating. And I say, "Man, what are you seeing?" And he says, it's impossible. It's impossible. I said, "Man, never mind that. What are you seeing?" And I didn't want to make sure I didn't want to influence what he was seeing. And he said, "I'm seeing that ship through the mountain." He said, "Is this some type of hologram?" And that's all. And it comes up, it goes above the tree line again, goes back down, comes out, goes down, goes out, comes back on. It does it 3 times. And then it seems to go lower in the mountain and it just disappeared. We didn't see it anymore. But I'll tell you, by then, I felt dehydrated. My mind was blown away. And it's one thing to sit up and talk about the holographic universe and talk about the holographic principle. It's another thing to really experience it. And the next day I'm sitting out there, James is trying to do a video of us. I'm trying to talk about it. I was so excited and so tripped out on it, I could barely talk in that video because I'm standing out there looking at this, Jimmy, and saying, how much of this mountain range is not real?
That's right. That's right. And see, I want to go back to actually what you saw, but one of the most amazing parts about ECETI is waking up the next day and going out and looking at the mountain and wondering what the heck you're trying to make sense about what you saw the night before, because the mountain is 12,000 feet high. It's 14 miles away. It takes up your field of view. It dominates the ranch. It's right there. It's a huge volcanic mountain, and it's beautiful, and it's covered with snow, and it's right there, right? But you're seeing things the night before. You're seeing lights on the mountain. You're seeing lights fly around the mountain. You're seeing things move on the mountain, and then that's the best part is you wake up the next day and you have to contemplate. You have to make sense out of what you saw the night before, and that's exactly what you just described to me. I do it every morning at ECETI. It's the first thing that you do because you know what you went through the night before. And so for you, now let's back up. You're looking at the mountain. It's solid. It's real. It's 14 miles away. But you're telling me and this audience that the night before this mountain became, I want to understand what you're saying, translucent? Is that a way to describe it?
Yeah, I mean, the top of it looked like it had a mist on it, a thicker mist. but it seemed to be solid until we could see the ship through it. Like it was behind it, but we could actually see it through. So in that way, it had to have been holographic. See what I'm saying? Like it was like almost like it was hollow. We could see it through. It was absolutely preposterous. It was preposterous. I could not believe what I was witnessing. You know, and because I thought that, to be honest with you, I thought that point in my life was over. Having these crazy experiences to that degree,
right.
I thought that was for a younger man in his 20s.
Right.
But I see, obviously, you know, I wasn't done with that yet. But yeah, so and, you know, when I told James about it the next day, he says, you know, there are soldiers stationed on the top of Flathead Mountain, and we've never known why they're up there. That's what he said.
Every time I share an experience, you know, that has happened up at ECETI, and I'll go up to James, and you never get a reaction out of him. You know what I mean? I don't know what you would have to say to James to make him go, no, kidding, really? No. What you just described to him, he experiences every single day, right? Every day. There's nothing that you can suggest to phase James Gilliland, and you're not phasing me right now.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, he seemed to get a lot of joy after it and kept laughing about it. But, you know, the year that I met you last year, something happened to me. I almost got out of that, Jimmy. I almost got out of that place without anything happening to me to just stop my world.
Well, well, hold on. We got to take a break. And when we come back, no, that's okay. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. But, Barry, when we come back, we're going to discuss that. But I don't know what it is about ECETI to have, it's not just UFOs, and it's not just Mount Adams. It's everything that goes on there at the same time. It is these portals. There's something going on with orbs, you know, fairies, you know, of course, Bigfoot. And it's not just Mount Adams. There are things going on in the sky directly above your head. There's things going on to your left and to your right all day long, all night. There's what do you think it is? Is you know, yeah? What do you think it is?
We'll talk about it. Or you want to go now? Or
I've got about 45 seconds.
I'll tell you what, Jimmy. I think that there is technology in Mountain Adams that is remnant of when Earth was a Type 1 civilization. I think that it screens your soul life memories, especially it responds to the collective consciousness, and then it produces an orb technology, and these orbs get in your biofield and they alter your perception. And what it's designed is this device is designed to keep consciousness going forward. Everyone that goes out there has something happen that pushes their consciousness forward. Their awareness, it triggers.
It's one of my favorites.
Happened to you too.
Yeah, oh man. And it is so fantastic for me to gather in the morning with everybody out there at the fire pit and just let everybody tell their stories. You know, let them talk about what happened overnight, what happened to them as they were walking over to get breakfast. It is absolutely amazing. And if I have ever have somebody on the fence about all of these types of experiences, right, skeptical maybe, take them to ECETI. That's all you got to do. It's game over. Our guest tonight, it's game over. Our guest tonight, Barry Littleton. And when we come back, it's day 3 of UFO Week here on Fade to Black. When we come back, we're going to talk about 2017 at ECETI. I was there. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com, dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Barry Littleton. It's day 3 of our UFO week here on Fade to Black. And if you're watching me on the bunker cam, you know, I've been on this fast start diet, and I've been doing it for a week now. It was supposed to be only 3 days, but, you know, I just feel great. How do I look on the cam? Do I look different? I feel different. Yeah, Barry, I've been doing a diet, man, and I love food. I love food. I love food. And for the first time, I've done this and committed to it. But I committed to it because I felt great after 3 days of, technically fasting, in that just completely altering the diet and taking sugars out and drinking green superfood drinks. It's a whole thing. But anyway, I feel great, man. I feel great. I feel amazing. All right, faststartdiet.com. Everybody can go over there and check it out. Our newest sponsor here. But Rita has been doing great. She lost a bunch of weight. My daughter Deanna stuck to it. She did it first. And I got to say, things changed over at the house. Things change. Every night after the show, we pack up and we shut down the bunker and we head out, and we're not doing what we used to do for a week straight. In other words, like going to In-N-Out, at midnight and getting a triple, an order of fries and a chocolate shake. Haven't done it, man. I haven't done it in a week. I feel pretty good. My friend. All right, now let's jump up to 2017. 2017, I was there. I met you. I started to go through what everybody goes through at ECETI. It's you can't explain it. You just have to go along for the ride. And you and I meet, and it was a week of magic for everybody up there. But for you, it's your second time now at ECETI. And now you kind of know what to expect, right?
Not exactly. I tried to prepare for it.
Yeah.
Well, it was probably just before I had spoken, actually. I was waiting to go to dinner, and I'm standing in the line, kind of a long line there. And there's this a Caucasian gentleman standing next to me. He's really outgoing, and he's just talking a little bit. And he finally leans over at me, kind of leans in. He says, "Well, Barry, really, the truth is, I'm not the UFO guy. I'm the Bigfoot guy, not the UFO guy." And I turned and looked at him. I said, "Oh, really?" And his name was Tom Powell.
Yep. I talked to him for quite a while. Yes.
Oh, he's a fascinating individual. We went up talking for hours, and I told him what happened to me the year before. Now, one of the conditions, Jimmy, of me going back to ECETI was I wanted to stay in the same yurt that I was in before.
Did they make that arrangement for you?
Yeah, they made it happen.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so Tom tells me, first of all, we had great communications, and he told me several things I was unaware. So when we talk about Bigfoot researchers, what they're not saying and the guys you don't see on TV are some of the real knowledgeable ones. Anyway, so I told him what happens down this yurt, and he takes a large tree, a leaf, and on this leaf he makes a face on this leaf. And he says, "Why don't you take this and put it down where that rock was last year and tell me if something happens?" So I did it. Why not? And, that thing sat there for about 3 days on that porch, and nothing happened. One time it was moved over, but it was just the wind caught it, And finally I took it and just crumpled it up and let it kind of fly away. About 2 days after that, maybe, I go down there and there is a red lava rock on my doorstep. All right? Now, Jimmy, the first thing I thought is somebody's trying to make fun of the brother that was up here last year and had the rock put in front of his place, and they're trying to mess with me. And there weren't as many people left out there. To be exact with you, this is about the next day after I did the first Fade to Black interview with you. I was still on the ranch at that time.
Right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. We did it live from ECETI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the next day, this rock is out there. And, I thought, honestly, somebody was trying to get me, but there were so few people left. I suspected maybe even James Gillian had did it. because he was down around the earth planting trees. And so I went over to him. I said, "Well, James, are you trying to get me, man? You messing with me?" And he wouldn't. He kept looking. He wouldn't look at me at first, and he's shoveling. I said, "Come on, look at me, man. Are you trying to make fun of me down there because there's a rock on my doorstep?" He said, "No, I've been doing this." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, somebody's messing with me, and it's a person." And I started walking away, and I got maybe 3 or 4 steps away, and he goes, "Hey, Barry, how do you know that?" And it made me feel real strange when he said that.
I'm listening. What happened?
So,
dramatic pause, Barry. Well played.
Yeah. Well, later on, I went back down to the earth, and I find that there are these. Only way I can describe them is these small rock structures on the side. Because something that Tom had said to me is this: when he gave me this leaf, he says, when you're dealing with Sasquatch, you're dealing with beings that are so keen of every nuance of their environment that they know if anything has been disturbed, anything. And sometimes they will disturb something very subtle to see if you have enough heightened awareness to notice it. So I go back down to this urn, and there are these small rock structures around this cabin. Like if you wanted to try to go to the side of it and meditate, they're like right there in the path, but they're very small, and they're jammed into the ground. Like I could have got it in there with my thumb. It was very odd, and there were like some pine cones set up next to them with like a little with needles wrapped around them. It was just odd. I go to the back to sit where I always stand behind this yurt, and there is a quail feather in the one spot that I always was standing back there. Just check everything out. There's this quail feather there, and it's really small. It's gray with these white spots around it, and it just was odd. It was so odd because there are no birds back there. At least not that part. So, I'm looking at this thing, and then I start hearing this. It sounds like a melody type of sound. And this is the oddest thing. Okay, I look up, and there is a squirrel on these trees way up there. It looks like a baby squirrel. It comes down this tree. And, Jimmy, it gets over the branch that's maybe 5 feet over my head. I'm looking at this thing. Is this thing about to jump on my shoulder?
Right.
And it's making a sound. And I do know squirrels. Where I come from in Kansas, we have plenty of squirrels in our neighborhood. There was tons. You can even feed them sometimes. They make certain noises. I've never heard a squirrel make a noise like this, ever. It was like a melody, and it's looking directly at me. I'm telling you right now, it made me just feel very strange. To the point to where I ran into the cabin, the urn real quick, and tried to get my little emergency cashews to see if I could get it to feed it. Mm-hmm. But when I came back out, it runs back up this tree, and it starts moving around the trees so quick that I can't hardly track it with my eye. It's very hard. And it comes back down after a while, and it's making this noise. Okay, and it takes off finally and jumps on the ground and goes off on the back 40. And it makes this sound. It looks back at me when it jumps on the ground and takes off. My friend, when this thing ran off, it stopped my world. All I could do is just sit here, and I've got these cashews in one hand, this quail feather in the other hand. I mean, I'm out there tripping out, man. And I'm thinking, did I just encounter a shapeshifter? Because this squirrel was connected to these structures that I couldn't have done. There's no way a squirrel was jabbing those rocks down into the ground. That's impossible, And the next is it was connected to this quail feather. And I knew at the same time it was somehow connected to this leaf I had just crumpled up. Probably the day we did the interview, I crumpled that up that night and threw it away, that leaf. And this happened like the next night. There was this next day, this stuff happened. So I've heard a lot of things about Sasquatch and Bigfoot possibly being shapeshifters, but I mean that really stopped my world. This squirrel event, it was unreal.
You know, and there are there's two kinds of people that are listening to this right now. There's those that are on their edge of their seat and enjoying this and wanting, for this to continue. What happens next? Then there's the others going, you know what, Barry, man, you're just tripping. It's just a squirrel. It's just a feather. It's just rocks in the ground. It's just you're making something out of nothing. And that's what I enjoy most about this. You know that squirrel was talking to you. You know this. You know that this is what's going on. That quail feather had some very deep meaning to it. The rock sculptures that are going on outside of your yurt. These are messages and language, directed spot on to you. I'm enjoying this. What happens next?
Well, that happens, and I just accepting that was just hard all the way. And I don't blame anybody for thinking that because I couldn't accept it, but it stopped my world. Right. And something else that was happening. Just outside of the ECETI gate, there is Hood River across the street.
Yep.
And there's a bridge there, and you can go over there and check out Hood River. So I had gone over there a couple of nights, like Albert with me one night, and sometimes people just will walk over there. But this time it's maybe 12 o'clock at night. We're over there, and we start having these owl sounds projected at us where we're standing on that bridge, on that road. And the first time, Jimmy, it was a loud owl, but it's the mountains, okay, no big deal. But then the second time, maybe about a minute later, it sounded like a humanoid or a person purposely distorting the call itself. And when it happened, we're standing on this bridge, and Albert jumps up. He goes, man. He jumps on the side. He goes, man. He goes, that makes the chakras in my back feel funny. And I'll be honest, it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up too. And I was shining the flashlight over there, and I couldn't see anything. It's just all these huge trees back there.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, a stone slams down near the ECETI gate. Didn't about hit me, but it just slammed over there, like it fell from one of the trees or something. And so Albert's like, well, I think we should go back on property. I said, yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Right.
Yeah. I remember him looking at me saying, man, do you feel like we're being pushed back on property? I said, kinda. And, the feeling of you're being watched is unreal. And as we get further on the property, we start hearing these cow sounds. They sound like they're coming from Hood River.
Right,
these loud cow. And I'm thinking, my Lord, where's Tom Powell? He was still on property. I said, he needs to be hearing this stuff. Anyway, yeah, that's just another thing there. The night after that, 2 nights after that, again, this is after conference, we hear them shouting. What are these sounds of humanoids shouting between the mountain ranges? Jimmy, it was loud. This was unreal to where people were coming out of their cabins on the main property there, on the main office around there, coming out. And Larkin O'Toole ran out with his equipment trying to record it.
Right.
And when he came up with the equipment, it stopped. All 3 of them stopped. And I looked around everybody. I said, look, is it just me or were those sounds a little bit disconcerting? And everybody's like, yeah, they were. And Elizabeth Diane looks at me. She says, Barry, to me, they kind of sounded like whales out of water. And that made me kind of think like, man, whales use infrasound. Well, people say that's probably true. They're using infrasound.
The communication that was happening, because that's what this is, did you feel apprehensive? Were you scared?
I got to be honest with you. One is we don't fully know what we're dealing with, and those yells. You've been out there, Jimmy. If you and I yelled at the top of our lungs, you wouldn't be able to hear us across the field of dreams.
Nope.
Let alone between the mountain ranges. that was a little bit disconcerting, I thought. But then I started evaluating something else that happened to me that I thought maybe caught your attention last week, that video I made. But, it was something so subtle that I almost dismissed it. But then Tom Powell and people were telling me, well, there have been certain places that the Sasquatch have been known to chant.
What'd you hear?
And it's again at night when I'm not sleeping good. It's maybe 3:00. I watched all that activity on the mountain, and I go back down to those yurts. And before I go to sleep, when I'm walking down there or in the yurt itself, I start hearing this chanting. And I'm gonna tell you what it sounded like to me. It sounded like a mix of like Native American tribal dance music and Gregorian chant. Like that old Enigma group, they used to play Gregorian chant all the time. It kind of had that to it. It was a mix of both. And it was so subtle, my friend, that it was not dreamlike, but I mean, it was so subtle that you think maybe you're just imagining it. And it seemed to be coming from the back 40 of that ECETI property.
Right.
And then later I start finding out, I talked to Tom Powell about it. He called me one day, we were just talking. He said, you need to look into that a little deeper, that they've been known to chant. He just mentioned it. And when he mentions it made me feel funny, and then I start finding out that a lot of the researchers are quietly saying that they've recorded these chants near that human habitations. And they think that maybe it's that guy, Scott Nelson, I think that's the crypto-linguistic.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he thinks that it's just a protective prayer.
Was it when you're saying chant, are you suggesting that it was rhythmic and repetitive?
Yes.
Like it had order? Like it had order?
Yeah. Kind of to me the way, although it sounded Native American, like almost dance music, tribal dance music, it had the repetitive like a Gregorian chant does. And it was very deep. And it was very subtle. A couple times I thought, okay, clairaudience isn't my best gift, so maybe I'm picking up something that's coming off the land.
Right.
Maybe this is, the tribes that once existed on the land, and you can hear it in the morning. But then when I start feeling later when I was getting communication with these Sasquatches, is that what it was? Was it the land or was it them? I only caught it usually after 3 a.m. I never heard it any time before 3 a.m. out there.
I tell you what's interesting to hear you and others and myself, we all go through the same thing. We try to resolve it and explain it to ourselves. We need to get back into our comfort zone. Right? So you're trying to explain it away. So, it's a very strange experience to go through. Whether you're looking at lights or when the ring disappeared off of my finger, I'm trying to explain it in a way that I don't know. I'm trying to get back into my comfort zone. And it's interesting to me. And everybody goes through those same experiences, and you're doing it right now. When Lorcan, we were just talking about Lorcan O'Toole, Peter O'Toole's son, the actor. He spent a week with us out there. He was out there for quite a long time. And when he was going through he had a sighting. He had a Sasquatch sighting that popped out in front of him, and as he's telling me the story, now we're talking about an 8 to 10 foot creature that popped out behind this van. He's clearly looking at it. Had two witnesses with him, that saw this. I'm listening to him tell the story, and I'm trying to resolve it myself about what he saw. Anything but Bigfoot. Right? I've tried to do, and we all go through this. It doesn't change Lorcan's experience. I'm trying to maybe take the fear factor out of me and trying to come up with just an explanation here. But to have chants going on that are probably so guttural and so low, it's below what humans could do, one. And the second thing is, the volume, we're talking about a 75-acre ranch surrounded by forest and mountains. And to project and to get that going is something that's beyond human. But yet we're going to try to resolve this ourselves and make up not an excuse, but something that pulls us back into our comfort zone. But you knew, Barry, that a human couldn't do this. Humans, because it was more than one.
You know, something I had a hard time accepting also is that, because my brother brought it to my attention. He goes, man, before you went to that ranch, as much as weird stuff has always happened to you, before you went to that ranch, you weren't really positive Bigfoot existed, were you? And I was like, not fully, no.
Right.
And then that changed, and I could not accept, Jimmy, that when I tell you that before going out there, like almost a week before going out there, I was obsessing about looking at these white Bigfoot videos. And I know now that the individual that I'm calling Elder was in some type of contact with me at that point. I just didn't recognize it as telepathy because it was an obsessive urge to look at these videos. I didn't recognize that as telepathy. It's not the way it normally comes into me. But I know now it was something he was projecting to me from that land long before I ever got there, and he was expecting me. I know that sounds crazy, but there's no other way around it.
It doesn't sound crazy to me. It doesn't sound... one of my videos that I posted last year after ECETI, I said the word tripping, right, in the video. Now, this video has got like, I don't know, 2 million views. And the comments that were coming in as I was, kind of, he was tripping, man. He was on drugs. He was tripping. He keeps saying he was tripping. He was tripping. There's no other word to use in the English language than that word. How many times tonight have you said I was tripping?
Yeah,
right? There's no other way to explain it. It's like I don't know. You're in some crazy house on Halloween, and you're tripping. Well, yeah, that's what it's kind of like that. And I don't have another way to put it than just that. And it's coming at you from all directions up at ECETI. It's not just one little thing. It's this overwhelming environment, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Because I was like, I'll be honest. At first, I was like, man, I don't want to go up there and ring crystal bowls with a bunch of New Age people to see a little iridium flare in the sky. I was really not into that, and I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
And I get out there, and I'm just blown away. It was anything but that,
Let's. You know what, Barry? Can I get you to hang on for a little overtime? I don't want to wrap this conversation. Can we keep hanging?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be my pleasure.
There's one. You just said something that grabbed me, and I want to come back and dive into this a little bit deeper. The last thing that Jimmy Church was going to do is going to hang out with a bunch of singing bowls. With a bunch of New Agies, with flowers in their hair. That ain't my kind of party. It ain't. Well, you know what? You go there with that frame of mind like you did and like I did, and that's the mistake you're going to make. Because that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to get taught a lesson. Let's take a break right here. Because I did, man. I got slapped. So hard, Barry. It was... so much fun. We're talking to Barry Littleton, and this, of course, is our Day 3 UFO Week here on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. When we come back, let's talk a little New Agey singing bowls. Oh, yeah. All that and much more. This is Fade to Black, and our guest is Barry Littleton. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
but listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tappy.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Our guest tonight, Barry Littleton. It's day 3 of our UFO week here on Fade to Black. And you can visit his website and contact Barry at barrylittleton.com. And the links for his website are over at jimmychurchradio.com. In tonight's show description, it's right there. You can click on it and go and reach out to Barry. Now, Barry, there was one night there. Well, each night it was, taken off there at the Field of Dreams. But there was one night where we had about an hour of absolute Steven Spielberg craziness, where things were just, and that one saucer came up from the south, very low, and flew over us, and then flashed the crowd. It changed colors. It was like pink, and then went to blue, and then flew away. Were you there when that happened?
Yeah, it looked like a plasma craft.
Yeah, was that and I've described this so many times on the air to everybody, and I'm trying to adjust everybody to the reality of what happened to us, because it was low, it was real, and it was extremely cool. But for you, a lifelong contactee, and then you see a craft like that fly over us so low, directly over, and then flash just at 12 o'clock right above us. What did you think at that moment? Everybody was screaming and yelling. That was pretty crazy.
Well, one thing is, for me, I always become somewhat leery because the ships have come up on me too close and I've lost time. You know what I mean? I mean, not at the ranch, but just in previous years. So I always get leery when ships come that close.
Right.
But I would also say that everybody out that was watching that, I think, had some type of a contact, and it happens on the superconscious level. It's so fast, the vibration, but I think that everyone got some type of a message or some type of information that witnessed that, because it was just too close, and we got to think about the intelligence that was really behind that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got a message. It was holy crap. That was the message I got. And see, the my heart when it popped up over the trees, and I caught it from the beginning all the way through to the end. It was so low and so crystal clear, and it's one thing to see things in night vision, and that's always fun, and to contemplate what is going on up there and crisscrossing, and that's all fun, and it's great power ups and flashing, but this was low. It was so low that my memory now today, I hear it in my mind, but we didn't hear it, but it was that low. It was extraordinary for me. My adrenaline was pumping from the second that it popped up over the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing that I expected was it to flash like that, and then to change colors, to go from pink to blue. It had some kind of, I don't know if it's lightning or something that was going on in the inside of it. That was extraordinary. You just described it as a plasma craft.
Mm-hmm. If you look, there's like a plasma chart that people can look up on Wikipedia, but the plasma chart shows what metals do in our atmosphere and also what the gases do. And a lot of times you'll see these craft respond to the metals plasma chart on the range of plasma. So that kind of gives them away a little bit. I remember that one night we were out there, and something that I found a little bit intimidating was that apparently that everyone now judges by, if you could go out there and actually call craft in. Apparently that's a way to determine if you're a contactee now. But one night out there, I'm just joking, but one night, Costas Marquez, he had done a deal where they passed the energy around and then projected it, and then went out to did a skywatch after that. And didn't we get like 43, 44 ships showed up, flashes in the sky?
Yeah, that happened. Yes.
Whatever is out there, whether it's a device, whether it's the land, the beings, it responds to group consciousness out there.
I agree with that.
It's shown again and again,
I think if you're happy, I don't think you have to go into some silent meditative state and, om and I don't think it's about that. I just think it's good intentions. Just be happy. I'm not talking about going out there and pounding vodka shots and pulling bong hits, and playing, loud music, although that may work too as well. I mean, just good intentions, because that's what we were doing that night. We were out there laughing and having fun, and it just that was a magical. That was like 1 hour of stuff just happening everywhere. And so, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. The group collective of just being out there with good intentions, something is happening where they come by and they just say hello. And I love that part of it.
Mm-hmm. And they talk about they're talking about the quantum hologram theory of consciousness right now, and how things are quantum holograms, and how these beings are projecting us through the quantum hologram. And a lot of times they'll look as in an orb, and inside the orb you can see like a life form or something. But people take pictures of orbs at ECETI like it's going to the gas station.
Yes, I know.
And I think that has a lot to do with these little orbs. When they get in our biofield, they can alter our perception. And I think that's real orb technology. We're looking from ancient Earth that still exists here. And I think maybe Mount Shasta might be like that too. I'm kind of wondering.
Have you? I didn't see as much up at Mount Shasta when I was there. Beautiful place. There's no question about it. I mean, it's a lot of fun and a great atmosphere, but totally different than what's going on at Mount Adams. It's apples and oranges to me. That's just my experience. Cool. But did you see orbs is another thing that before I got to ECETI, I just totally dismissed. I just totally dismissed it. And then, I saw that crazy huge orb up there with my own eyes. Did you get a chance to see any orbs without night vision, without cameras? I'm just talking about with your eyes.
Yeah, they're really fast. And normally out of the corner of your eye. I would see it kind of in the field of dreams out there, kind of in between the people watching. I would see orbs out there sometimes. And, not as readily as they seem to show up on film, but sometimes you can catch them in your peripheral.
Yeah. It's nuts. And that's what happened to me. It's exactly what happened to me. And now let's get back to the singing bowls.
Oh man.
Man. What did you experience? Did you go out to the medicine wheel and do a ceremony?
Yeah, I went out there twice and walked around and everything each time I was out there. That was really cool too. But I mean, the whole property wasn't what I expected in that way. So I think even if you're not into ringing the bells and everything, you don't need to do that to have an experience out there. Just like you said, good intentions. So I was kind of a little more skeptical going up there the first time, but I got taught a lesson, as you would say. I got taught something.
What happened?
In terms of just the whole thing as far as the holographic mountain, the Sasquatch interactions. Also, the people were really, really welcoming and very open-minded, and I was always really impressed with the attendees. And so that way it was for me a, time of a lifetime. I'm really glad that I didn't turn down their invitation to go speak there.
One of the things that I enjoy the most is listening to everybody talk and share their experiences in a very open way. And not in a new agey that's not what I'm referring to at all. But like during lunch or dinner, going out, and I would walk around from table to table where, there's 20 or 30 people sitting at each table having dinner. And I would I'd just go up and listen to their conversations. And I know, and most of these people just met each other for the first time, right? They're not lifelong friends. And I would just go up and listen, fly on the wall, and listen to their conversations. And I know that they are able to, maybe even for the first time in their lives, they are able to sit and have a conversation without any concerns about what somebody's going to think about anything that they have to say. And the conversations are wide ranging. It could be about anything, but watching it open, and I know that that's exactly what is going on, where for the first time that they are able to just freely just blah, and just put it out there without repercussions, without fear, and I think that's one of the most important things that happens at a place like ECETI, and specifically about ECETI.
I was unprepared for, like, the first time I had presented. I was unprepared for the overwhelming response I got from attendees. Like, afterwards, like, for the rest of the time I was there, it happened the second time I spoke there also. Because, in my mind, I'm thinking, first of all, I'm unknown in this field. Number two, I was never part of the secret space program, or I'm not a whistleblower. And so, I don't know what I say would appeal to people in that way. So that really caught me off guard. It was quite the experience each year.
Well, what did that do for you personally? How did it change your life?
It made me more open to actually go to some of these conferences and things like that, and to maybe join a little bit of the conference speaking circuit and just kind of do that a little bit more. That's something I was opposed to, because, to be honest, I never thought it would go this far. I thought maybe after about a year, no one would be carrying anything I had to say anymore. So, but that's not that's not the way it worked out.
Right, right. But you go back to Kansas, and how was it for you? I'm not suggesting in any way that you're now talking openly to everybody that you meet about UFOs, but it certainly changed your worldview. So how are you around other people now? How did your life change?
Well, when I came back, it triggered me to keep speaking, because there's a point where you deal with kind of the trolls, you deal with the negatives, and you think, well, maybe I've done enough now, and I can step back from this, and I've done what I was supposed to do. And what it showed me was that I was not done, and that people were listening, people do care, and there's a whole community now that's coming together of people that are just like me. I found that each conference, most of the attendees probably should have been up there talking before I was, because they're all experiencers or psychics, or something significant has happened to them that they're worthy of the same title that people give me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do. Yeah. And when you go back to the town or city that you're from, because I did the same thing. I had to come back to Burbank after ECETI. And I found myself driving my car and looking around at everybody else that they may not understand that there's something else out there. There's more to life. There is another dimension. There's other things going on than this, right? Did you have that same change in your view of your own city that you grew up in and that you knew so well?
Yeah, because where I live is not, it's not the country by any stretch, but it's not like in New York. And if you stay in New York, you're really going to be locked down from anything we were experiencing out there, off the land, and in the wilderness like that. That much definitely changed. The way I look at civilization is like, wow, there's so much you get out of our concrete jungles. There's a whole lot of things that can happen to your perception.
It does. It just changes you. It changes you down to your foundation. When are you going to go back to ECETI?
I'm hoping maybe to go back this next summer. I don't know what conferences they're doing, but I definitely want to try to go back, because it's just a nice place to visit, and it's really energizing.
Are you going to go back? Are you going to stay in the same yurt?
I'd like to. My brother's not much on camping. I'm not. So I'd rather stay in the yurt. Yeah. I think probably no matter what, if you just spend time on that property, you're going to have some type of experience. And something about that place I think that needs to be mentioned is about the third day you're out there, it will bring up some type of a trauma that you've had that you haven't dealt with, and give you a chance to deal with it. It's not that the land is hurting you, but it's giving you a chance to kind of heal. It happened to me, like it brought some things up where I felt like I was over my mother's death or something, or dealing with it good. Mm-hmm. The third day out there, I realized, wow, I really haven't. I still need to keep dealing with it and processing it more. And I watch so many people out there have something emotional happen to them about the third day they're out there. Some people, it seems to run them off. If they don't want to deal with that trauma, they're not a warrior, they'll get out of there. The third day, they just seem to be gone. You saw that at probably a couple of the conferences. The third day, a few people were just gone.
Well, and there's something that happens when you are able to quiet your mind. You're able to filter out, because up there, you're not going to be tempted to jump on the net, go check out Facebook, go see what's happening on CNN or Fox. You don't do those things. You don't have the distractions of television. You are able to quiet your mind. And you're right about that, because after about the second or third day, your brain is settling down. It's not being compressed with the noise of the world. And so I think that everybody goes through that. And when you are alone, because you have that opportunity where your mind is now quiet and you wander off on that property somewhere, and 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of just you and yourself, you are able to think about something that you have not thought about in forever. And I did that. I did that a few times. I was able to get away. I jumped on James's motorcycle, right? Stole it, just went right up, man, and turned that, and drove off. And I did too. And a couple of times I was able to just be by myself, and I went out to the Palladian Circle, and I sat down in that chair, got off the motorcycle, just went down and sat down, and was able to quiet my mind. Now, what I went through and what happened and what I experienced, that's mine. That's for me. That's not for the world to share. But you are able to really reflect and take a look at yourself as you're looking at this property. And you're absolutely right. That is something that needs to be mentioned. It's not all about fairies and orbs and flying saucers. That's part of the experience. But the other part is the self-reflection, where you get a chance to, because your brain doesn't get an opportunity to do that too often, where you can just disconnect and check yourself out.
My friend, since I spoke out about the Sasquatch chanting, and I was very reluctant to do that, Jimmy. I just was, but Spirit's kind of said I was supposed to, so I did. I've had several people contacting me saying that they've heard that out there. And, I'm wondering, is Scott Nelson right? Is that a protective prayer? Are they helping with this? Is that what that is? And I wonder, is it protective prayer for them or for us or both? It's food for thought, if nothing else. I can't prove it, but I was shocked that several people that said that seemed to hear it coming from the back 40.
Have you had any contact with your ET friends since ECETI?
No, I just get information quite a bit.
How does it happen?
What's that?
How does it happen?
It normally just comes in. It comes in, and it could be something they'll use to trigger, and it'll trigger like a memory or an aspect of it, or I'll have a question that that will be answered. Like it's never worked. If I try to just call them and try to induce an encounter, that has never worked. They always do it when they want to do it, when they want to make contact, but they seem freely to deliver information. Now, and a lot of times when I do it, I'll get something, I'll put it up on YouTube, I'll make a video about it and relay the information, in that way. So,
well, what information have you received? Can you share something simple with us?
Recently, the last thing I had really got was concerning what's called fast radio bursts.
Really?
You ever heard of that?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Just that what we're looking at is galactic trade routes.
Really?
And if you're looking at things as a type 2 civilization or type 3, 4, and really something that could construct a Dyson sphere, the information they're giving me was going back to considering that Brown's law, that Moore's law, each year the transistors get more on the chip.
Right.
But if you start getting that, not just nano, but taking that into what's called pico technology,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing with civilizations that have went that route for advancement, and then you start dealing with that. Like example, Dr. Lear, the implants he was removing from people had something like a mile or 2 miles of carbon nanotubes, and that's microscopic.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go smaller than that down to the pico, and then we start taking about civilizations, Jimmy, that actually made a Dyson sphere around their solar system,
right?
And they're dealing with the pico. That is an universe like we never thought of before, and that maybe these fast radio bursts, what we're seeing is these type of Dyson spheres doing a hyperspace jumps. It's food for thought. They were giving me something like that, because I was never thought about fast radio bursts, really. I had to look that up.
That's interesting. And a couple of weeks ago, Michio Kaku broke his silence on the fast radio burst, and he suggested that they were starships. Right now, and what I find most compelling about that is we are trying. There are those out there that are going to say, "Oh, it's natural. It's a dying star. It's whatever. It's naturally created." You're going to have that, and I get it. But the other part is we are looking for, and these fast radio bursts now are becoming a little bit too consistent, and a couple of them are really interesting. And then to have Michio suggest that it's a starship. There's vast emptiness of space out there, and if you're in some massive ship, you're going to send signals out to whoever's around you, like a beacon, just to let people know where you are at. And I think that is something that needs to be thought about. But for Michio to suggest it when I've been thinking about it, and you turn around and suggest this now, right, that it is ET technology, Dyson sphere, sending signals out, I think there's something to it. I find that very interesting, Barry. Thank you so much. I can't wait to get you back on the show. The conversations with you are the absolute best. And are you going to be speaking anywhere? What are you doing next?
Right now, the last one I did was the conference in Orlando, so I don't have any schedule yet to speak anywhere else yet. So I'm open for it. Definitely going to keep reaching out, and I hope to communicate with more of the community, because the next thing I see is us going forward and starting to put these technologies together and starting to get the scientists with the experiencers and getting this much more tangible. Stop ignoring those of us that have had these experiences.
Where are you posting? What's your YouTube channel?
Barry Littleton. You just type in Barry Littleton, that'll come up, and that'll also give you a link to my Patreon channel that I started. There's about 15 videos on there that are a little longer, and I'm going to start doing live feeds on there. So you can find me on YouTube under Barry Littleton.
Thank you so much, Barry. Be safe and be well, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Jimmy. It's been a real pleasure.
You're the best, Barry, and I mean that. And, well, you already know that, but just thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you for having me on, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Barry Littleton, everybody, and it's so simple. BarryLittleton.com. His links are over at jimmychurchradio.com right there in the show description. You can click on it and head right over. His videos are great. I was checking out the Bigfoot stuff last week. BarryLittleton.com. Faded Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster, Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Faded Black is produced by KJ Sierra for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Barry Littleton. What an amazing conversation tonight. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Tomorrow night, Fader Night. Day 4 of our UFO week. Your UFO calls all night long. Until then, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tepe.